Hello, guys and girls. Chookster here, bringing you another episode of FTB Unstable. We are in a tight, cramped space. You might be asking what I'm doing here today. Well, in episode 23, we are going to be taking a look at automating some things like Sugarcane. So, I'm in this area over here, and you can see that's my bottom cellar. Here, I can show you kind of where we are. So, bottom cellar there, there's my base pretty much right next to me, just a little bit below. There's the floor of my base, and here's my Ender Pearl farm and my Nether Wart farm. So, I just kind of took this area over. It was previously grass down here, a little hollowed out area leading down into kind of a cave. And so I filled this out and put some alabaster on the side. And this is black grass. So last episode I showed you about red grass. Well, this time we did black grass. All right. Again, no recipe. Black grass, just some black dye and some grass seed. Put this all down as black as dirt and put a couple of seeds down, and it spread. And hey, look at that. We've got a nice, cool black and white contrast, very similar to a normal base. But the other thing I did is this looks a little weird over here. This is really just, if we can get up here, this is really these RefinedStorage cables. And I did some chisels and bits covering. So we know that, there's Ender IO conduit facades, right? We know that, but there's nothing really for RefinedStorage. So what I did was I just kind of chiseled some things on here, and I started covering this, and I just wanted to show you this here is sort of what I did. I just made a plate here and put that in front of it. It's just 1 pixel wide, well, Minecraft pixel, I should say, and which is 1/16 of a block, and then laid it on the front side. So that kind of covers it up. And I brought it over the side a little bit and, went up here. These up here are also, there's conduits behind here, and these are just more plates. They're, I think, 5 or 6 deep, and I made those to cover up. And so the cable runs from here, on up here, and this is where a couple of machines are up there that I might in the future hook up with RefinedStorage cable. So just want to show you that you can mimic a conduit facade, and I can also fill this in up here with more alabaster if I really wanted to kind of make it smooth. I could bring this out flush here. I mean, there's lots of different ways to do this, but I didn't want to spend too much time here. But what I want to do today is I want to use these destructor planes. Now, these destructor planes are just like the annihilation planes in applied energistics, and so the destructor is made fairly easily. It's just the standard stuff, and we know how to make all this. And what it'll do is it'll destroy anything in front of it. So I've got some sugarcane, some sand here, and I want to kind of lay this out. So let me run my cable first so we can kind of get a frame of reference. Now, you don't want the cable to impact where anything is. Let's see if I sort of get in the middle of this room here. So this will just bring this up and over, and let's say about right here, and we'll have this come down. Now, the difference is that in AE, we had the ability to put all 4 of the annihilation planes in a single block. Here, we don't have that luxury. So we have to bring this down, and if I place a destructor on here, watch what's going to happen. So it immediately faces that way because I have to be facing that way, and therefore it aligns it and it breaks it. And so, you can go in here and you can do this again, and then see, okay, so we have to rotate this, and let's rotate this, but let's see, we want it to face this way. Okay, cool. Now we want to do it this way. And when we do the next one, it's going to do the exact same thing. It's very frustrating. So let me show you just a little something. Just break it back here. Anywhere. Just break it there. And then it's not actually working. It's not hooked up to anything and therefore not working. And so, oops, what am I doing? There we go. And so you can place these on there and it'll just save you a little bit of hassle. Okay. So I'm going to do the, fairly standard, let me get out of the way here. really standard like this, and we'll rotate these. I do kind of wish they would line up facing outwards, but you know, how do you know which way you want it to go? So I get it. And just to make it look pretty, get this, there we go. And so then when I connect it, that'll work. So in order for this to work, we're going to need some sand in here. Actually, it'll work on dirt. I just kind of like sand. I don't know. It'll be a nice contrast to this. And I don't know. Just me being, it's just what I've always done is put it on sand. So that'll line up properly. And now I won't be able to plant these until, see, I'm clicking there, until I give it some water. So I've got my water sigil here. And so what we can do is we can just place a water block right in front next to each of these. Or what I could do is I could take this out and just place one water block right there, and it'll run, and then I can place these here. Cool, huh? So that is, once these things grow, then it will start working. So let's hook this up, and we are all good now. So that'll start working, and that'll feed into the system. And we'll give it a minute here, but let's take a look here. We've got 65 sugar canes. I'm going to throw these, well, actually I can plant this again and I'll show you. So I have 65 in there. So I thought I could put that on. There we go. See how it breaks it? Like that. And then if we look, we now have 67 in there. So that's exactly what it's going to do. You just break it, and as these grow over time, it'll just slowly start filling up my inventory. I don't have very many, and we know that we get sugar from that. We get paper. You can see my paper. Yeah, and there's you know, not too many in there, and especially for things that require paper, like refined storage. You know, I don't want to run out, so this is a way of automating this. Now I could do it with just one if I wanted to. That'll just go a little bit slower, but hey, why not? We'll go big or go home. So I don't think I showed you how to make this, but let's see. The recipe is really just this growth reagent and a reinforced slate. Very simple, and of course we use our arcane ashes. And we went through a lot of blood magic, so you should know how to do this. Take your arcane ashes, you right-click on the ground, you take your growth reagent, which is just any sapling, sugar, and sugar cane, and you take that growth reagent, you right-click on the arcane ashes on the ground, then you right-click with a reinforced slate, you get the Sigil of Green Grove. Now the Sigil of Green Grove is just like bone meal, and so for many things you can right-click and it will grow, but not sugarcane. It's one of those that doesn't grow with bone meal. Other things will. So you can walk up and you can right-click and it's instant bone meal, and it just takes from your LP, and it takes a very little amount of LP, so it's great for portable bone meal. But in this case, for things that are magical or that follow this line of not being able to bone meal, you can actually shift right click this, and then it starts growing. If I stand here in the middle, all these guys are getting growth ticks. It's a Minecraft thing as to why it looks like it's growing and breaking. It's not really doing that. It's just that's indicating growth ticks. And you can see how many they're getting. And so as these guys start growing, and you know, it's pretty funny, is probably the things above me are also getting. Now you do have to be sort of close. You can see that guy over there isn't getting any, but if I go right here, see, now it's getting it, and all the rest of these guys get it as well. Okay, so Sigil of the Green Grove, very cool. You just want to make sure you deactivate it when you're done. So if I right click, shift right click, it will deactivate that. So yeah, so blood magic coming back to help us out, which is very cool. Put these back up here. It's my new one. Here's my old one. Okay, so very cool. And of course, wireless, I can dump that away. Very nice. Okay, done with that dirt. So the other thing I want to get into, you might have seen, is the super crafting frame. So this is kind of early game stuff. So the super crafting frame, it's very simple to craft. And what you would do is you'd stick it on the side of a chest, typically a chest, which has materials in it. And then you create a recipe that you want to put in here. And you could, let's say you want to make chests. And so you have a bunch of wood inside your chest. You put this crafting frame on the side of a chest, and then put the pattern for another chest in here, and then you can just walk up and click on that, and it gives you a chest. It's just an automated way of crafting. And you can make a double one. It just takes 2 of these, and a triple, and a quadruple. Kind of cool, right? We didn't use this early game, but you know, it's a lot of fun. They've got item frames, but what we want to get into is these teleportation frames. And so let me explain why. So right now we've got this teleporting wand, and we've got travel anchors, and they're not very expensive, you know, especially late game. I can make a whole bunch of these, but they only have a certain amount of range. So, you know, this Wither Killer, it's quite a ways away, but at some point I would lose the ability to get there. What if I wanted to travel, let's say to a town, and I wanted to go over there? Well, the options we have are, if we look at RF Tools, they've got some really nifty stuff that we've already delved into a bit, and that's the, right here, the matter transmitter and matter receiver with the dialer. And so we've got a receiver here so we can get back home very quickly. And remember the charge porter, that gets us home very quickly. And it just goes here. I don't need I just heard the Sugarcane. So you see we're up to 71 already. So that's cool. So I haven't done any teleporting away. I've only been able to come back home. Now, that's one way to do it, and they're not too bad. But the problem is, you know, if you look at the recipe here, it's not bad. It's just a few hundred pearls, which we have a ton of, and a standard machine frame. And the dialer itself isn't bad either. It's, you know, actually it's fairly inexpensive. Problem is it requires power on both sides. And so, yeah, I can set up what do you call it? Solar panels. That's what I'm looking for. I can set up solar panels, and that would be one way of doing it. But these super crafting frames don't require that whole infrastructure. So let's take a look and see what it takes to make one of these. It's just sticks and ender pearls. So how easy is that? So let's make one of these, and what we're going to need to couple with is a destination marker. And so all it is 400 pearls surrounded by an empty map, and we know maps are paper. Hey, we're just so happen to have the ability to make more paper now. And we have this. Let's make that. And a map. And there we go. And we'll put that there. Cool. Okay, the way this works now is, let's say I wanted to put this up on the wall right here, and I want to get to this town over here, and I want to regularly go over there. So let's fly over there. And so wherever you want to teleport to, you take your destination marker, you shift right click, notice how it turned green. So then we go back home. And then I'm getting this weird lighting bug. I don't know what that is. It's ever since the new pack updated yesterday. Okay, so then we right click and put that in there. So now what I can do is I can just walk up to it at any point and right click, and I'm instantly teleported there. How cool is that? So, and I could couple this with my charged porter, and I can get back home. So I can just alternate between the two. Choo, choo. Or another way to do it is to create one of these super teleportation frames and place it over there, and I can get back and forth. Now, see if I shift right click, it comes back out. Now I want to take this guy down. Strangely hard to break. Okay, here's another level to it. We can go, just like these crafting frames, we can go double super. And then there's the triple, and then there's the quadruple. So if we were to create a few of these, let's create 3 of these, we can now make a 4. Yeah. One of these days, I'm hoping, come on, there we go. I'm hoping that he'll look in inventory when crafting. That's why that never works. So I just got to get used to throwing it back in there. Okay, so now we have a quad one, and we'll have to make a few more of those, but remember, our paper is kind of running a little bit low. It's not horrible. It's not horrible, but let's see, at super. So let's make 4 of these guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll remember to throw them back in there this time. And we have just enough for 3, but we just so happen to be getting sugarcane. Let's see, there we go, and it's good enough for right now. Super crafting frame, and let's get our last one. Throw those back in there. Okay, now technically I didn't need 4. I could have made 3, right? Because I already have this one. But let's say I want to keep that one. I can craft another one and say, hey, that'll get me there. So there is a subtlety with this, though. Let's say perhaps I'll throw that in there, and we just made our brand new 4, okay? And we'll put it up on the wall here, and we can put, like, signs next to here and denote where they go. But so let's go over here to the town, and notice how I have all 4 of them here, and I'm going to shift right click. Other mods have done things like they separate the two, so you have a stack of 3 plus 1, but this one doesn't do that. If I shift right click and mark that, all 4 of them are bound to that location. So beware of that. Now you can rebind them very easily, and not a problem. So here's going to be town 1. I just so happen to denote those town 1 and town 2 and town 3. So I now have, which way is town? It was southeast. It should be this way. And there's town 2. So let's fly over there really quick. Should be fairly quick. Hey, there's my dirt forest. I just love that. Okay, so we're going to town 2. And let's say we want to go right over here on the path, and we can shift right click. Now all 3 of these are bound to that. Now I can use my charge porter to get home. A bit of lag, wait for it to catch up. Cool, yeah. And I've noticed that sometimes it happens when you're using that charge porter. So let's see, we put that one in there. So now we have town 1, which we can go to. Let's go back home. Oh yeah, I am getting tons of lag still. I can't even click on that. Let me relog. I'll be right back. Okay, much better. I just disconnected and reconnected. So let's go back upstairs, and we can then go over to town 2. So see, it's not too bad with that weird lighting thing. I don't know what that is. So there's town 2, nice and fast. Let's try the charge porter again, see if that's going to produce lag. That time it was okay. Yeah, not bad. So, and so on. So you can see that's a really handy way to hop back and forth. And if I want, I can place one, I can mark one, that extra one that I had, I can mark one for here, and then at each of those I could set that up. If I didn't have my charge porter, I could set up another frame, very easy to craft, and have it teleport me back here. So I could hop back and forth very quickly. So all over the world, works very nicely. Okay. Let me get some things ready for the next episode so you don't have to watch me craft things. Alrighty, we're back. But, the weirdest thing is that, what is this? Tile Spirit Block Slab name. I don't remember collecting 88 of these things. They're from Roots. And so if I were to grab one of these, take a look at it. There's no recipe. I'm hitting R. There's the uses. Just says the standard IC2 recycler, which means there's no uses for them. Okay, so let's put this down. So we put it down. It generates light. It's a really cool looking block. I have no idea. Maybe it came from one of those Tinker's Islands, but I don't know. I've never seen it before. It was never in my inventory, or it was as something else, but maybe the update. Now, when I break it, it changes the texture of it. If I put it back down, it still shows as the same, but now it doesn't have a texture in my inventory. If I put it back in here, it doesn't stack. It's the weirdest thing. I have no idea where these things came from. So I mean, I know there's the whole spirits, and I think there's like the the Spectre ingot and the Spectre key. We might get into that sometime with the Spectre anchor, and you can use the sword to kill those things. But that's from random things. It's not from roots. So I have no idea what that is. So anyway, okay. So what we're going to work on now is, let me make sure I'm in here. Okay, at refined. All right, so we want to do a couple of things with this network. First of all, we want a network receiver. We want a network transmitter. We want a detector. I thought I had everything that I needed, but clearly I did not. Let's make a couple more of those, which is cool. And then the network card, which I'm going to be short on this, so just give me 6 for right now. All right, beautiful. We'll need a network card. And the last thing we need is a destructor. So let's go outside. And so we saw in an earlier episode how I was able to use this miner, and it mines it up and puts it inside this chest. We detect the amount in here, and come out here, grab it, and throw it in my system. But now I want to automate that so it automatically goes in. So let's pull this back here. Let's say about 3 should be good. Now I'm going to want to put down the network receiver here so we can receive, so it can be the receiver for the network. And so I'm not sure if we have to right click this or not, but let's try, right clicking, shift right clicking. All right, so let's go downstairs and we'll go behind the wall. Let's put the network transmitter right next to here. All right, so it's online, which is good. We'll throw the linked card in there, and it says it has range of 13 blocks. We could probably put some range upgrades in there, wherever those were. Yeah, we remember those. One of those. Anyway, so let's go back outside here. So now everything's green, which is good. So what I want to do is I want to place this against here. All right, so that's going to break that. And we'll need to feed it in here. Now I can put a cable and it'll just automatically feed it in there until I run out of LP. But we don't want to run out of LP. So we built a detector. And we can put that down. So that connects it into the network. So that's cool. It's filling up my Obsidian in my network. Obsidian, and you can see here, I have 1007, 8, 9, and so on. And it's continually going. But let's take one of those guys and let's configure this so that it says, well, first thing we want to do is we'll say this guy here, it's going to only work with a redstone signal. Then we're going to set this guy to say emit a signal when it is above the amount. What amount? We want it set to, let's say, 1100. All right. I don't want any more than, well, actually, let's set it to 1000 right now. So 1000 when this in the system has 1000. All right. When above the amount, we want to go under the amount. There we go. Okay, so if it has 1000 or more, then it emits a signal, which this guy is set to only work when there's a signal. Oh, I'm sorry, when it's under, let me try this again. When it's under the here, it will emit a signal. And so this is actually, there we go. So when it's under 1000, it will emit a redstone signal, and this only works when a redstone signal is given. So that will keep us up. If we ever use a bunch of obsidian, it'll start running and fill us back up. So there you go. Or if I wanted to, I could say 1100. Well, let's say 1000. I don't know how many I have in there. So how about we do 1015? There we go. Should be 1015. There we go. It needed a couple more and it stopped. So there you go. There's a way of automating our obsidian. So let's go ahead and grab all this here. And let's go back inside. We'll dump this off. I could have just used my wireless too. So I'm constantly ending up with this dirt, and my dirt chest is completely full. So I want to get into Botania next because there's a lot more we can do. All we've really done is we automated this creation of mana. We have 4 mana pools, and that's not too bad. I mean, I'll end up we will end up making more. I've automated this. Hopefully, you guys checked out that episode. It's kind of cool way of automating this, and yeah, we've made a few things. The baubles we made is the Ring of Magnetism, the Sojourner's Sash. We also have the Ring of Cordata. And so there's some other pretty cool things in here that I want to get into. Hold on. Let's see here. Yeah. So, Botania. So you can see there's just a ton of things to do. Now, some of you guys might not like magic mods and stick with, and you're primarily tech. So am I. I like tech, but the Botania, it's really not too bad once you get the hang of it. The blood magic. Blood magic is really not too bad once you get the hang of it. Same thing with Botania. But there's some really great stuff. You've already seen the Sojourner's Sash. I just raced to it right in the beginning. And the Ring of Magnetization is heaven. The Cordata we used 2 episodes ago for exploring underwater, and that was really handy. But there's some really other cool stuff in here. One of the things I want to work towards is this Pyroclast Pendant, and then the upgrade Crimson Pendant. So the Pyroclast Pendant is not too bad. It's the Ring of Fire and the Ring of Summer. Let's see what kind of runes we have. So we have a Ring of Air, Earth, Fire, and Water. But if we look at the Summer, it's really just Air, Earth, a little bit of melons, slime ball, and sand. It's not too bad, and that's on the Runic Altar. So we can do that very easily. A little bit of string and so on, and we get the Pyroclast Pendant. And the Pyroclast Pendant is, remember, in our lava charm, is just lava. Well, this is fire damage as well, so that's really nice. But there's a certain amount. It doesn't actually tell us how much, but it's not complete immunity. It's resistance. Think of it that way. But the Crimson Pendant, that's like, you just sit there and take any kind of fire damage, and it just, you can stand in lava, you can swim in it, you can sit in front of blazes, and they just ignore you. Everything they throw at you doesn't do any damage. So that's pretty cool. There's also a mana mirror that we're going to want to get, and then there's all the rods of the sea. So if we look at not of the sea, all the rods. So there's a rod of the lands, there's of the highlands, the depths, and so on. And so these are kind of cool. Now we already have a similar thing. The rod of the lands, it puts down or creates a dirt block. Rod of the depths, that I thought that one did. Yeah, I thought that one did cobble. That's cobble generator. I believe that's what it is. But that might also be terra firma. I'm not sure which is which. And then Rod of the Seas, that does water. We already have the water sigil, so that's not bad. There's the Molten Core. I think that one creates lava or fire. So there's a lot of really cool ones in here that we can play with. And so those are some neat tools and fun things to play with. What we ultimately want to get is, we've had this armor for quite some time, and it's got some pretty cool enchants on it. It mends, it has mending on it, and it fixes itself, and then of course all the other stuff, and it makes me pretty beefy, but it's not super high end. Now there's a couple of different other armors in here, and if we look at the quantum armor from IC2, so this quantum armor is really good, but we don't have an IC2 infrastructure setup, and it takes a lot of work, and it takes, just a ton of power and a ton of things that are required for it, and it takes iridium. So that's only found in chests. If we look at the iridium, you can use a compressor on these iridium shards, but to get the iridium shards, it's only in chests. Now, I found one. I've heard of there's ways to multiply that or duplicate that. I found one so far, in case we ever get into that. But, that's fine. There's also the dark steel armor. It's the dark armor. This stuff, we've already had this, and it's pretty cool. I like this armor really well. But this fully upgraded seems to do a little bit better. But then there's all kinds of, let's see, Botania, or armor, not ore, just armor. There we go. So there's lots of different types. There's this mana steel. We've already made mana steel. That's pretty simple. Then there's the mana weave. And so all of these, let's look at just the helmets. That's 2 armor. And then this helmet is 1 armor, so it's a little bit less. If we look at this stuff here, this is 2 armor as well. The Elementium is a little bit better, and that requires the next tier of Botania. But the highest tier of it is this Terra Steel. So it's 3 armor plus 3 armor toughness, plus we get knockback resistance. So that's pretty much, as far as I know, comparable to the quantum armor, and that's what we want to work towards next. So it takes this Terra Steel, a couple of runes, and a standard mana steel helmet. But this Terra Steel, you have to make it with a lot of mana, and for every single one of those Terra Steels, it takes half of a mana pool. And so for a full set of armor, it's not the full 24 like we would normally get. It's half of that. So it takes 12. So we're going to need 12, which means half a pool per. That means we have to have 6 full pools. So that's going to be the first thing we work on next episode. Is we're going to replicate this. We could either point it over here and fill up another set, or we can just do some other clever things and have a great big distributed pool. So we'll get into that. It's really neat. Hang with me, guys. We're going to do a little bit of Magic Mod Botania next, and I think you'll like it. I think you'll have a good time with it. So it's a pretty neat mod when you get into later on stuff and all the cool stuff you can get. So with that said, take it easy. I appreciate you watching, and like if you enjoyed this. So have a good one. Bye.